Michael's a nice guy, but he likes someone else to do his work for him. You know? It's not really up to me to say what solutions there might be to the problem of evil, or to say, logically, maybe we could imagine that God has some very good That's not up to me. The same as it's not up to me to tell you what all those other arguments are for the existence of God, or what a more complicated argument based on modal logic might be if we wanted to run with the ontological argument. None of these things are up to me. He complains that I have not done these things for him. Look, it's really up to Michael to tell you why you should go on believing in this whole Christian story, this whole God concept story, if you don't have a basis for it that you could provide to a reasonable, well-informed, intellectually honest, open-minded person, which would be convincing to that person. He just hasn't done that. He hasn't even tried. He hasn't even tried to solve the problem of evil. I spelled out what it is. He says, well, the Bible already knew about it. Well, okay, you go to the book of Job, and you see all the suffering that was heaped on Job, and you see Job's friends explaining it to him. You see Job himself wrestling with it. You see God coming and speaking from a whirlwind, and God says, how dare you judge me? Well, that's the Bible solution to the problem of evil. You can go through the Bible and look for the various ways that it tries to deal with evil and suffering. As Bart Ehrman, the great biblical scholar in the US, did in his book on the subject, and you fail. There is no biblical solution to the problem of evil, and there is no plausible solution to the problem of evil that philosophers have been able to come up with over the centuries either. If there had been a solution that Michael thought was plausible, he would have told you. But he simply did not do that. And that's not good enough. Now, Michael says Russell's sceptical, which is true, I am sceptical, but Russell is not sceptical enough. There's a sense in which he's right. I am not sceptical enough because I am not prepared to buy into the kind of radical scepticism that denies the whole world, sees the whole world as a delusion. We have every reason to be sceptical about our senses. We have every reason to be sceptical about our memories. These are imperfect ways of finding out about the world. But they can be checked against each other. I can check my memories against Jenny's memories over here. I can check my memories against my senses. I can see what I wrote this morning, if I can't quite remember what I wrote this morning. People can go out and do experiments. There are many, many ways of checking and cross-checking. Psychologists know a great deal about just what's wrong with memory, just what's wrong with the senses, and just what's right. All of this forms a huge complex web of belief that we all have, where we check and cross-check things against each other. And we can come to reasonable conclusions. So although we should be sceptical, yes, about our memories, about our senses and so on, the radical scepticism in which you throw out the whole lot, think the whole world might be an illusion, is something that's not justified. If you think that is justified, if you start off thinking that, then yes, it's true, you may as well believe anything. You may as well believe in God. You may as well say, well, look, the only way I can get out of this if I take it seriously is to think that there's a God there that can reassure me, right? That's true. I mean, Descartes ran an argument a bit like that, and versions of that argument, a transcendental type argument version of that, have been run by many theologians and philosophers over the years. But you have to start by taking that absolutely radical kind of scepticism seriously. You have to take seriously, maybe there's an evil, omnipotent demon deceiving us all, and the whole world is just a delusion. Yes, if you are that sceptical, you may as well then say, oh, look, the only way I can get out of this is to believe in God. Sure. If you are so radically sceptical that you take these crazy ideas seriously, you may as well take one more crazy idea seriously. I agree with that. And therefore, I am not sceptical enough to take that one last crazy idea seriously. Michael himself tells us that a lot of the philosophers and theologians, began with some kind of faith in God, and then they put up arguments to support it, right? That's exactly what I said in my opening speech. People come into this business. They do come in with things like socialisation and parental training and just cultural familiarity with ideas. And they are prepared to buy into ideas because they're familiar in that way. And then, having gained these ideas in a non-rational way, they try to rationalise them. That is exactly what happens in most cases. I put it to you today that you have heard nothing at all from Michael to suggest otherwise. And given that that is the case, given that you understand that, and given that you're not such radical sceptics, that you're going to take on just one more crazy idea to try to resolve the whole thing. You are sensible, down-to-earth sceptics like me, who realise that memory and perception and so on are fallible but checkable. Given all that, you've still got absolutely no reason to stick with this human construction of the idea of God and the human construction of Christianity itself. Thank you.
Does Russell have any grounds for not being more radically sceptical? I could have cheated.
Need some help?
Does he have any safe standpoint from which does he have any reason to suppose more than just is the sort of empiricism on which he relies? Does it give him enough? Does it give us enough? That's a question I want to put to him. We'll put to him a bit later. I have begun by saying we need to hang on to the idea of God because it holds our social fabric together, because it is a reasonable idea, because the arguments for the existence of God in fact confirm what Christians have been saying. The arguments for the existence of God, the 5 ways, they follow on from the presupposition that comes in that Christian theologians and Christians have that a God exists from their encounter with Him. Likewise, the presupposition, just as the Christian may indeed be arguing out of their presuppositions. And come to, we may argue that they have confirmed what they already happen to believe. We could say that the person coming to a different conclusion likewise might be doing so for some other interest. The scepticism about motives and confirming in your argument what you already kind of sense in your heart kind of cuts both ways, does it not? So I would like to be sceptical too. I would like to put the sceptical argument back across Russell's bows at that point. Does not sloughing off God actually, isn't it just more convenient? Isn't it just an easier way, a more convenient and reduced and individualistic way to live? Does it really amount to more than that? The arguments that we heard from Russell about the cosmological argument and so forth, as I said, I don't think he actually made any ground in defeating that there is a kind of cause. I mean, he actually admitted there is some kind of cause outside the universe there. That's all that the cosmological argument ever sought to demonstrate. That's all it ever sought to kind of point to. And it was always ever used as a confirmation for what was found in Christian revelation as it came down. It confirms rather than establishes what is encountered in the Bible, in the person of Jesus especially. The problem of evil. I think it's a conundrum too for the person who says that there is no. That it's a conundrum too for the atheist, because how, in what sense is it? Is there an evil? Is there a kind of moral wrong being done at the heart of the universe? In what sense is there a kind of evil being done there? Is it time? Yeah. We also might say, when it comes to the problem of evil, I don't propose a solution in kind of the free will defence. Though those are there to be made, they are logically possible. What we see in the problem of evil is what actually occurs in the world. When we ask who is there helping at the face at the coalface of evil, who is working to ameliorate evil. Who do we see there? Who do we see there working to ameliorate evil? What do we see happening there? Why should, if it is the case that the problem of evil has succeeded so well, why is it that people are working, Christians in particular, are working to resolve and to answer the kind of evil and suffering, to ameliorate suffering in the world? Why is it the case that they are there? I was also going to say there are people. What happens when people do suffer? It's interesting to point to the personal testimony of people who, when they do suffer, that doesn't seem to be a defeater to their theistic belief. That people who have a theistic belief, when they suffer, don't, as an experience, as an existential moment, move on from, don't necessarily, and I know many people for whom this is the case, don't move on from theistic belief, but find in fact that theistic belief makes sense of their suffering, makes sense and gives them hope in that suffering. So if it was such a defeater, why is it that we have so many examples of endurance of suffering and confronting suffering at that point?